Okay, this is the podcast for 1.3 for writing expressions. So make sure that you're putting these notes on the right-hand side. Make sure you look at the starred problems that you're going to be needing to do on your own. Okay, so this lesson is over writing expressions out in words and translating them into math. The words worth knowing that you're going to be adding to your back of your book is going to be unit rate. A unit rate is something that is 1. So if I say I am driving 55 miles in 2 hours, how many miles am I driving in 1 hour? So you're trying to find that unit of that problem that you're dealing with, and I'll go over some examples. Okay, starting off with some key terms. You're going to be needing some colored pencils, highlighters for this podcast, so make sure you have those handy. All right, so in English, 7 more than n. We want to highlight or underline some key terms. So the key term here is more than. So I'm going to use my colors, more than. And more than means addition. So 7 more than n would be represented by n plus 7. The next problem, difference of n and 7. Key term, difference of. Difference means subtraction, so n minus 7. The next problem, the key term, product of 7 and n. Product of. Product is a multiplication problem. So this one actually can be wrote a couple different ways. I can make it 7 times n. Now remember, we use the dot for the multiplication symbol. We can also just say 7n, or we can say 7 and then in parentheses put n, all meaning the same thing. The quotient of n and 7. Quotient is a division problem, so we can write it n over 7. We could also write it n and the division sign 7. Remember, fractions are division problems. Okay, this one I want you to try on your own. 5 less than n. Make sure that you mark the key terms in the English phrase and then write it out in math. Okay, the next problem, the sum of v and 3. Sum is an addition problem. This is a new one, the ratio of 4 and x. Now, ratio is a division problem. You can set it up 4 over x or 4 divided by x. The starred problem you're going to do on your own, 7 to the 3rd power. Okay, now to some unit rate problems. The first story problem we're going to go over. You're going to have to actually convert them into the correct units. Okay, a car travels 120 miles in 2 hours. How many feet in 1 second? Okay, there's a couple things that we need to know. We are translating from miles to feet. Okay, so I think we probably should know how many feet are in 1 mile. So off to the side, 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Okay, now I have in 2 hours. And then this rate, I'm changing it into seconds. So how many seconds are in 1 hour? Well, 1 hour equals 360 seconds. Okay, so now that I have that, some things that we're going to do, when we write this out, we're going to write it out as a fraction. So 120, I'm going to use my units, miles in 2 hours. Okay, so now I need to convert my miles into feet. Now to do that, we're going to multiply. I want my same unit opposite. So what I mean by that is if I have miles on the top of my fraction of this first problem right here, I want it on the bottom of my unit next door. So 120 miles, and then I'm going to put my 1 mile, and we said is 5,280 feet, times, okay, so now I got my feet changed. from miles. Now I would need to change my hours to seconds. Okay, so if I have hours down here, I'm going to put my 1 hour on top from my conversion over here in red, and my 360 seconds on the bottom. Now, I turn this into a multiplication problem. So multiplication of fractions, you just multiply straight across. So you guys can go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to simplify the fraction down. So 100 times 5,280 would go on top, and then 2 times my 360, and that simplifies down to 88 feet per second. Okay, you're going to do the same thing with example number 3. You're going to do this one on your own. Now, if you notice, you're changing from yards to feet, so that's something that you're going to need to make sure you know the conversion. And then from minutes to seconds, again, you need to make sure that you know that conversion as well. And look at example 2 to help you out. All right, so that concludes the podcast for 1.3, writing expressions, and the words worth knowing that we discussed was the unit rates. Make sure that you do understand the terms that represent each of our operations, the addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication.